Hi everyone, welcome to Campfire Conversations. My name is Trudi and I'm here with Juliet Robertson today. She's from the UK, but actually we're meeting her here in Perth, Australia, in Harold Boas Gardens, in front of a waterfall. So if you hear that in the background, you're listening to the lovely sounds of the waterfall in this park.
Yes, drowns out the cars, doesn't it?
It does, it's beautiful. And Juliet, we wanted to talk to you today about sticky learning. We use that phrase of yours quite a lot when we're talking to teachers.
Yes.
And why it's important when we're teaching children to incorporate some of those emotions and memorable moments into their learning, and how nature can help with that.
Yes. Well, the idea came from a book by Chip and Dan Heath called Made to Stick. And they just said, what is it about events that stick in our mind? And particularly things that seem to be there for a very long time. And they decided to look at adverts of all things. And why is it that some adverts we can all remember and others we just forget? And they came up with principles which they called the success formula, which is that for something to be memorable, it has to be very simple. Often there can be an element of the unexpected. It needs to be concrete, it needs to be credible and have meaning to the children. It needs to be emotional, and what was the last S? It's a story, and the value of stories. So for me, when I started working outside as an education consultant, that's what I started looking at, both in terms of my training and both in terms of the suggestions that I was making about what would work well with children. So which is why things like just using sticks and placing them on a white cloth, these simple things can just be so effective for both children and adults.
Thank you. So Inspired EC has brought you over here to do Wild About Maths with us today.
Yes.
So how do you incorporate stories into maths?
Well, you can incorporate stories in many ways. I mean, as you know yourself, Trudy, from your work doing puppeteers, you can literally use nature as props. So, for example, if you're singing a song and things, the leaves can represent something in the song. So, for example, at the moment, this isn't so good, but you might, for example, have these could be bottles on the wall. So you have two yellow bottles hanging on the wall, and if one green bottle should accidentally fall. So you can tell the rhyme, but illustrate it with a story, and that's the concreteness, and it helps the children make sense.
Yeah.
And there's also an element of unexpectedness, and that what's the teacher doing using leaves to represent bottles? So there's stuff like that.
We love I love the jellyfish song, the three jellyfish, because we have our playgroup by the river, and we either use our hands or I get something from nature to represent the jellyfish, and I love that.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah. I love the Sammy the Snake that you had today.
Yes.
to measure a metre using something that was simple as a rope, but just turning a rope into a snake.
Yes.
Was an amazing way to bring the story into the measurement object.
It is, and that was actually, I would love to tell you that was my own brilliant idea, but actually I have to attribute that to a woman called Marion Cairns, an early years educator that I work with in Scotland, and she does a lot of the We Green Spaces training, and she used Sammy for making a knot. And I just thought, no, Sammy can be mathematical if he becomes 1 metre long and things like that. And suddenly that whole idea of using a story and Sammy being tired and having to curl up somewhere small and not being sure then will he fit in the pocket, and that whole spatial element. And is he still the same size as his friend Sid, the stripy rope snake? So again, you can weave stories that just bring maths alive.
Thanks. So we love your book Dirty Teaching, and about teaching outdoors in memorable ways. I look forward to your new book, which is
Messy Maths. That's it. Yeah, that Messy Maths is basically very much bringing together the sorts of things we've covered on this Wild Maths training day. And it just, what interested me was that a lot of the maths books default to focused activities or to elements that could be interpreted in a very structured way. And what I wanted to do was to bring in much more of a clearly playful approach and to try and assure and reassure people who work with children that actually there is maths in everything people do. And what really was a defining moment for me there was I was looking at some work by two maths professors, Haylock and Coburn, and they are very mathsy, and there's no outdoors mentioned, and it's all about sort of numbers, and then they get to their chapter on space and shape. And 4 times in this chapter they mentioned the need for children to get outside and just play and just run around and manipulate things and move things. And I just thought, and then sort of applying the value of that to them understanding about geometry. And I just thought that is absolutely brilliant that we have two maths professors saying playing outside really matters
finally
for their mathematical development.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a bit of a defining moment.
Thank you very much,
Not at
Juliet,
all.
for talking to us today.
Thanks
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Oh.